Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name's Liv or Olivia. This is Wags and Wonder, all of dog related things. I'm super happy you're here today. In today's video, I'm going to be talking just sort of like a sit down and sort of talk with you guys about how I got into getting a service dog and what that journey was like. I haven't had one of these sit down or like I'm doing now, standing up videos talking about how I got into it and why I thought it would be a great fit for me of having a service dog. So if you're new here, it would mean a lot if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, or you can also leave a like, really helps me out. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So with like any story, you need to start from the beginning. So growing up, I had a lot of dogs in my life and I never knew what a service dog was. I would see them in stores. I thought that it was okay to, you know, look at them, but apparently that's not what you're supposed to do and all this stuff. So growing up, I saw like service dogs in grocery stores, but never once did I think like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that this could be owner trained, or before all of this research I started getting into. And so what sort of started that journey of going into that research progress is like about 4 or 5 years ago, when I started going into high school. There was a girl at my high school who had a service dog, and she would take him to classes and would walk around with him, and I was really interested in it. And then this is when I started to get off on this tangent of the persistency of constantly looking into service dogs. What's the right breed? How long does it take to train a service dog? How time consuming it is, and all of these questions I just had. And I was a very shy girl in high school and I really didn't ask her those questions. So I just started doing research and found people on YouTube that I started watching. And over the course of the last couple of years, as I kept trying to figure out more information, watching people on YouTube, with the first video I saw was a service dog gear tour of a girl named Dallas the service dog. She has a Dallas the service poodle or something. I watched her video and I was really intrigued because she had owner trained her service dog, and I never heard of this. On the research I was doing, like all I heard was you had to take it to a program like for guide dogs or for taking mobility training dogs or autism dogs. You had to have it in a facility to be trained, because I remember when I was a young kid, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there was a video about guide dogs and how they're raised and what the tedious process is of raising one of those dogs and what that all looks like. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not blind, like I can't have a service dog. And it wasn't for the fun of it until I started to watch it. I'm like, oh my gosh, these dogs change people's life. They make people see, like they are able to take them out and like go grocery shopping when they couldn't do that before. Like that was so cool. And then what really opened my eyes was when I found out there was this thing about 2 years ago when Dallas the service poodle, when she posted about her dog being a psychiatric service dog. And I was like, what is that? And it's basically having a mental health service dog, which basically takes care of deep pressure therapy, which is another task you can train your dog. You can also train it to do task trains to open and close things if you have, like, for example, POTS and things like that. Or and there was all these things that you could train a dog to do to help mitigate a disability. And I, at this time, when I was doing all this research a couple years ago, I really was like, this would help change my life. Having a service dog that I can train on my own, that's not gonna cost about 20 grand. Like if I'm able to do this on my own and have a trainer by my side to help train me and my service dog and training puppy, that would be life-changing. And I got into it because I was like, there's things in my life I have difficulty with. For example, I'll just be vulnerable for a second. I have a hard time going to the grocery store due to stuff I have happened in my past, and it would be nice to have this companion who can go behind me and watch and you know, sort of be a companion with me wherever I go. I can't expect a human or my family or friends to be around with me 24/7, but a dog, yes, they can. And I was just so enthralled by that I also found out that they can do deep pressure therapy. You can train your dog with high cardiac heart rates, and I was like, oh my goodness, like that's amazing. So looking at the certain things that I needed for my own service dog, I was like, I think I can make this happen. And it's not for kicks and giggles. It's not to say I have a service dog. It's honestly because when I got into it, I was like, this could possibly change my life. And then that's when I dived into finding the right breeder, and I decided to do owner training my own service dog puppy, because I do not make tons of money to pay $20,000 to $30,000 for a fully trained service dog. And there's not really many programs in my area that train psychiatric service dogs or multi-purpose service dogs. Looking along and watching more YouTube videos, you know, because that's where I found most of my information, was people were really posting about that, and most of my people that I was subscribed to were service dog handlers, and watching them over the course of the last couple years, before 4 years ago, for about 2 years before 2 years ago, I decided to find a breeder and start that journey to find a prospect. I really just found out that there was so many types of dogs and what dogs are bred for. I learned about there's different temperaments. You're supposed to do temperament testing. I also learned that there's this thing called EIS and ENS, early neurological stimulation, that ethically bred breeders do to their dogs, and I was like, I'm all for that. So there were so many different things, and over the course of the last 2 years, I was like, okay, most people have labs. That's awesome. I don't like shedding dogs. I'm OCD around fur, and I just don't like it. So I was like, okay, check that off the box. What is something that I can look for instead? And so I was like, oh my gosh, hypoallergenic dogs. So I was looking at doodle breeds. I was looking at little dogs, but then I was like, wait, I don't want to have a little dog, because if I want the dog to go over my lap and lay down and apply deep pressure therapy, it's not going to weigh enough, because I need a dog that is going to weigh enough to help make the application worthwhile. So I was like, okay, there's golden doodles, there's sheepadoodles, there's bernedoodles, and I was originally looking at getting either a golden doodle, or what was the other one, or an Aussie doodle. So about a year ago, I had put down a deposit for an Aussie doodle, but I decided to withdraw. I think I explained in one of my other videos, but because the mom was not going into heat, and so I wasn't able to have the service dog I wanted in time for me to start training, and how I financially saved up over time for this puppy. So, and in doing so, I found the Bernedoodle. A good friend of mine, you guys probably know of her, called The Paws of Purpose. She started making videos with her Bernedoodle about 3-4 years ago, making videos about, but over a little under a year ago, I started watching her videos, and I just, what happened for me was, it just popped out, was the amount of patience and calmness the Bernedoodle had, but at the same time, how intelligent it was. Watching other service dog handlers with their dogs, some of them didn't fit the niche that I wanted in having a puppy and having my own service dog. And I didn't want a dog that's super hyper and like has high energy like a Vizsla does, or sometimes poodles are very high energy dogs. So I wasn't really looking for that, but I was trying to find a mixture. So I found her YouTube channel and just started watching her YouTube videos, and I just fell in love with the breed. And over that time, I just kept doing research, and before this year mark, when I started watching her videos, there was a breeder who was in California that I had been talking to for the past couple years, and so 2 years, and she was like, well, we have this type of dog coming out, we're breeding this dog, and she breeds about 3 different breeds, but one of those is a Bernedoodle, and they're all doodles, and so I was just waiting for the right timing, and then back at the beginning of this year, one of them was giving birth to their puppies, Bernedoodle puppies, on February 10th, 2024. And I was like, this is it. Because this is the time I was hoping to get a puppy, you know, start the training, financially good, ready, you know, have all the equipment I'm gonna need. Like, I'll have enough, I already had enough preparedness, and it was time. And so I got into her DMs, I slid into her DMs, as people say, and I was like, this is perfect. So I went and sent her a message, and she's like, yeah, there's spots available. And I grabbed one, and I was able to have I was able to pick out of the litter the one I wanted, which is who you guys see now, Henry. His previous name was Obi-Wan, so that was pretty cool. And I got him, and right off the bat, when I went to go pick him up, we did temperament testing. She had already done EIS in ENS, which is early neurological stimulation and early scent stimulation. So EIS, I think is what it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. But yeah, and so she did those things, and when I went to go fly down to pick out the puppy, as you guys see in one of my videos, he was very energetic, but at the same time very mellow. You could pick him up, he wouldn't whine, he was very good with treats, you know, doing all of the checklist of a temperament test, and he checked most all of the boxes. The only thing that was concerning was the food motivation, but over time I found what type of treats he likes, and he's very food motivated now. So that's a little bit of how I got into the service dog world, and what made me intrigued by it was because this could really change my life, and having something, a little guy with me wherever I go, helping me in my own personal struggles that I have in my daily life, just meant that I could live more independently. And through my mental health journey and going from a bad place to a sort of good place now, I saw the need for it, and I persistently did not give up. And that's something, if you're wanting to get a service dog, is I just challenge you to be patient and be consistent and constantly do your research. And lastly, make sure that you are prepared, knowing that there are gonna be times when all of a sudden you get into some financial instability and you can't get a service dog. And so sort of having that ability to understand that there's a timing on this, and you have to do it in the timing that works best for you. That is the biggest advice I would give to somebody if they're trying to get into getting a service dog. So anyways, that's how I got into getting a service dog. I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I just want to remind you guys, number one, you're loved, and number two, stay strong. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.